I need you to take some of the heat. Oh, okay.
Okay, Jason, all set with that.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll call the joint meeting tonight to order.
Just the board of selectmen to start with. We do those two subject matters. And this-
All right, so we'll call Board of Selectmen meeting to order with two pending issues, first and foremost. The first being acceptance of the deed that we had,
Quick claim deed without covenants for the transfer.
which we had a motion and a second last night on, anyway. All we're looking for is signatures this evening?
Right.
Yep. So without any other discussion?
We don't need to do anything, we'll just
Yeah,
sign
we
it.
just need to sign it.
Right.
Motion.
We're all satisfied, everybody looked at the,
All right.
at the plan.
All right, so with that done, last night we approved accounts payable for repairs done on engine 303 for the fire department. And we approved the $27,579.36. In actuality, it was $30,043.46, so I need a motion to approve essentially the difference between the two.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made, seconded. Any discussion on this matter?
It's still coming out of the fire department budget. or the
Capital reserve fund.
reserve budget.
Yep.
Seeing nothing else, all those in favor, approval? Motion carries.
You close your meeting.
We'll close the selectmen meeting,
Second.
7:01. All those in favor?
Well, that's the quickest
Thank
meeting
you.
we've ever had.
You know, she still
Thank
looked
you
at
very
me.
much. All right. Shift that.
Yeah,
You want to take that?
it's your job.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
I think we're gonna have as many as we can. Michelle said that she wasn't gonna be here. John, Jack,
Thanks,
Paul,
Mom.
sorry, Paul.
Thank you.
More than you want.
Yeah,
So you have enough. You have one.
yeah.
All right, great.
All right, at 7:02, call the meeting to order. There's gonna be a joint session between Board of Selectmen and the Budget Board to go over a few items. First order of business is approval of the agenda. Do I have any motions?
Second.
Motion, Jack seconds. All those in favor? No one opposes, beautiful. Approval of minutes for January 27th.
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve?
I'll second that. Oh, sorry, I don't want to second my own minutes.
They were good enough.
Well, unfortunately,
I can't.
you can't because you weren't
I was
here.
gonna say, I didn't get to.
Who
Like
made
you're
the
rich,
motion?
Sean.
Who made the motion?
Jack made the motion. Okay, I'll second it then. All those in favor of the minutes as read? Or as presented? And all those opposed, and we got one abstention because he wasn't here. So the motion carries. Review of municipal budget request. First item is gonna be account 1501, Public Works. We believe everyone should have copies of current information that you provided.
Right, if I may, before we get started, and then we can discuss with Roger. I anticipate this more of a general discussion to give you knowledge on the budgets that are presently on the table. I don't believe there will be any formal action through this process at this particular point, but we thought, and as I understand, last year, it was very helpful to have all the information being shared at the same time, so any questions that were asked, everybody heard those questions. At the end of this entire process, once you get a chance to look at all the budgets, there'll be a separate, at least for the budget board, a separate public hearing that you will review the budgets again and make your final recommendations. And then the board of selectmen obviously will do the same on their end. Our hope all the time is that whatever questions or any issues come up, that we try to get as close to being like as possible, because it's always better to have numbers that are in agreement when we go to town meeting as it being opposed. But I've seen it happen on different occasions that they all come out the same, and then there's an explanation being made before. So without any other said, Roger's here. I figured that while he's here, we'll have him, if you have any specific questions on his budget at this point, you can ask those. And then he's here, and he can, we can get into that transfer station budget a little bit. And then the one thing I don't have on here that you may want to mention and talk to him about is the Eastern Trail maintenance. It came up at a selectmen's meeting that we put aside $5,000 again for that maintenance piece. But there may be some, there was some thoughts about what his intent was with some areas on the trail that need significant upgrades. So this would be a great time to ask those questions at all. So I'm sorry to butt in, Sean, but I just
No,
wanted
that's
to
all
get
right.
that out.
Matter of fact, the first question that I have is actually for you, Keith. Looking at the numbers, FICA has gone, well, you're proposing that it's going down almost 1,000, where salaries is going up by 3,000,
Yeah, the FICA,
retirement's going up a little bit.
if I misrepresented it, I'll have to go back and look at it, but what I did is I took, the FICA number should be close to 20 and some change, where do I have it, 26,195. So, I'll double check the number again. Right now on my Public Works total, I have 20,047, so it may be even less. So let me double check the FICA number for you,
Okay.
make sure that I have the accurate number there.
All right, thank you.
I would have a second related question on health insurance, which has dropped 3,000. As to why it would be lower. I've never heard of health insurance going lower.
Well, health insurance right now is being proposed at 65,263.
I mean, that's great, going from 68 to 65, don't get me wrong.
Right, it's gone up 6.2%, so I'm curious as to why it's less.
I've got a similar
Well, we had
question.
68 there, we only spent 56, so I put the real number in. I suppose, I'm not quite sure where the 68 too, it may have come from a situation last year that they may have anticipated more of an increase than they actually got. But
Okay.
The number I'm providing, if you look, we only spent 56,244 out of it
Right.
last year. So right now, we're proposing 65,265 based on our current.
A similar question with workers' comp, that seems to have gone down by $7,000 when salaries increased.
Right.
Is it possible we actually had a decrease in workers' comp?
No, what we found was that when we looked at the numbers, the workers' comp wasn't being distributed among all of our departments equally and where they should have been. So we've gone ahead and readjusted that, so there should be accurate numbers within that budget at this point.
Okay, so in some other departments, those numbers
We
may
may see some
increase.
increases
Okay.
as a result of that, yes.
Another question I would have is on heating oil. Well, that's pretty close to 4,900, 5,000. I was looking at the 4,000 number. So
Right.
that's okay.
We budgeted 4,000 a year before
And I'm bumping
the year
it to
before
5 at this point based on what we spent last year.
Yes.
First question to Roger. Uniforms went from 3,500 to 6,000.
That's been a mess for quite a while, and I don't think we were budgeting actual expenditures. There's some uniforms as well as there's a shoe allowance in there, and I think the shoe allowance was out of supplies before, and it should have been on the uniforms, and that's the only thing I can see. But I knew that the uniforms were out a little bit, and got a printout of it, but that's the only thing that's out of line.
Yeah.
Safety work, safety footwear, like cotton boots, are pretty expensive. We had to buy several different pairs this year. Because some were, bad shape. Plus a new employee, they don't always take the same size, so that's an issue. That's the only thing I can come up with.
Every year, Raj, does each employee get an allowance for,
They get an allowance for one pair of shoes per year.
Yeah.
That's it.
that's
As
it?
long as they're steel-toed work boots. Previously, that was all in the union contract. Now there is no more union. But if you go back, you might see a union again, so we're relatively lucky not to have to deal with that.
It also helps to keep our workers' comp down because they're wearing protective shoes.
Yes.
Certainly overall, a flat budget down 5,000 was.
Right, and again, before you make your final decisions, we may have something that comes in that may be a little bit unanticipated at this particular juncture when we're putting this budget together. But we'll certainly let you know as soon as we know.
Keith, on the traffic signals, you're still projected 2,000?
Well, that may have to be adjusted.
I was just gonna say, what about the Hill?
I don't believe the Hill Road number's in there yet.
No, that's an issue that Michael talked about, but obviously, we're maintaining those. We don't really anticipate much the first year or so, you never know. But that will also make our streetlight account go up because the power for those is coming out of that account. And I've had 3 calls into CMP, right now the ball is in our court, to hook those things up to generate a work order, and I have not had a return phone call yet. That's all we're waiting for, on that signal.
I come down the hill every morning just expecting to.
Yes. Go through.
So
we may have to increase that just a little bit in order to cover both of them.
Correct. Once we get some numbers from it, then we'll have a better accurate analysis for you as to what it's actually gonna cost us.
Well,
How much is it,
Right now,
how much is it, on a street light, approximately, how much does it cost to be electricity wise? Can't be that much.
I'm afraid to use that. Half the streetlights we have, well, actually, a little more than half the CMP. The rest of it, I came up late power, but my knowledge is like 27 throughout town. I believe 9 or 10 came up late power.
So that light there, that on Hill Road, is just a light, there isn't a street light there, right? It's just a blinking light? They didn't put any lights there, did they? Did you see?
There's an
any?
existing light.
There's an existing street.
Right at the
Existing,
corner.
Yeah.
On the
Street.
corner, on the.
Right, so the only additional money would be to operate the.
Power to operate,
the-
but we've got two lines, and street lights is the actual power, and then traffic signals is basically maintenance. Terry just brought up a point about the signals at Route 1 and Limerick Road, which are ours. The other set that's on Route 1 at Campground Road is the DOT's. But those have the old style lights in them, and to put the LED lights in them, you can change the cabinets. So at some point in time, there may be a little bit of an increase in that to upgrade that.
Yeah,
That'll save
be a
on bulbs
saving
and everything
on
over the
bulbs
course of
and
time. But
electricity.
in order to put those things in the way they are, you gotta change the cabinets on it.
Plus those cabinets are on their way in anyway, because they're right full of mice and snakes.
The control panel that sits off to the side on Route 1, every year there's an issue with it, and for whatever reason, that thing is always full of snakes.
I'll,
Mice get in
On
there, they
Campground
chew
Road?
on it.
I'll remember that.
No, that's A&D Electric by the DOT. This one is down at the corner of River Road, Limerick
Oh,
Road,
okay.
and Route
Yeah.
1.
I'm not going near that one.
Well, the control panel is off to the side, it's not the overhead.
It's gray, no, it's like a gray box or something. It's
Yeah, like that spot for whatever reason.
nice and warm and cozy.
But we're not talking a whole lot of dollars here, you know, you're talking a couple $100 or so, or maybe a little bit more than that, but shouldn't be that much of a difference,
I
right?
would actually have to see the monthly bill for the breakdown, it's not much.
Yeah.
Operating supplies. So those budgeted last year for 75,000, now it's down to 70,000.
Somebody noticed we're not having a big winter, so that's why that got decreased.
And if you look at the expenses too, and we only spent 64,000 and we budgeted 75. So, the year before.
That's because the middle of last winter, we kind of put the brakes on and had a spending freeze, so to say, just to get through the winter. We weren't in good shape. That line is all of your supplies, salt, sand, calcium, cutting edges. Have a bad winter, the following year you start out with nothing. It's been a crapshoot.
So, Roger, besides the winter stuff, what do you use for operating expenses? Like during the summer and the spring, what's in this line item?
Any wearable, like not attributed to vehicle maintenance, comes out of that, like the mowing supplies, that stuff, minor repairs on stuff. You know, you get out and get some hardware to put something together. It's charged as supplies a lot of times as opposed to vehicle maintenance. Nuts, bolts come in through Austin, that's a supply issue.
How are we sitting so far this year with sand and salt? Granted, we still have some winter left, but.
I did a 5-year comparison, if you want to see that, but this year so far, we've used 674 yards of sand, 212 tons of salt, and 360 gallons of calcium. I did a 5-year deal, and they averaged almost 100 inches of snow. There was 1 year, 2012, I believe, that we had 4 feet of snow that one, and that was it. Right now, we've got 34 inches recorded, so. Other than that, everyone has been just under 100 inches. Last year was over that, the year before was more than that. So, that's the one item that, I know I came in and boo-hooed last year and tried to get those separated. It's to our advantage to keep them that way because of the way the law is, and as far as overexpending if you have a real bad one.
What goes into the tools and minor equipment?
That's anytime, the other day we had one of the fire trucks down and had to take the front balancer off and it didn't have a pull. Had to go to industrial hardware and get a pull. So any specialty tools come out of that. Minor stuff, a couple of jack stands or something like that, and it's usually specialty tools that you don't always have.
Is there a reason that the expense though in 2015 was only $10, or is that an error? As opposed to, like, so far year to date, we're at what, 15?
That can't possibly be.
I know, so it just doesn't make sense.
Unless everything else you bought came out of the wrong line, came out of another line.
That's happening.
And vehicle maintenance going up 8,000 to 38.
The only thing we've got down there new, and I thank everybody again for that, is that excavator. That's been one great machine. But everything else, we're running mainline trucks. The one that I run every storm is 20 years old. We've got another one that's 19. Two of the other big trucks are 10 years old. Two of the ones that we plow every summer are 30 years old. And this is not done with that.
Okay.
And there is no scheduled replacement or anything new, mainly because what we're making for payments on that excavator is eating up what we're putting in capital equipment. There is no projected replacement for trucks in the near future.
Now, Raj, while you brought up capital, on the road construction, previous selectmen meeting, we had mentioned Duck Brook. Is that, any more info for us on that, or?
They have started the preliminary on structures as far as design.
Last time we met, you were afraid that number was just gonna get chewed up at Duck Brook.
It still will be, because that project is in the 350 to 400,000 range. And it seems to be consistent with all the numbers we get from the engineering firm.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but there's a lot of things that's gotta go right for that to come in any
Now, is
less.
there anything in your mind that just absolutely can't wait a year? And if that capital reserve account gets spent on Duck Brook, that means anything that's kinda in your timeline won't get touched for another year. Is there
That's
anything?
correct.
That won't be capital, that'll be the road construction, you know.
That's what I'm talking about, road construction, under capital reserve.
He's flopped up to, that was at 450.
The only other thing I had was one development in there. That's where we're really behind. We've got a lot of developments that haven't been touched in 12 to 15 years. Some of them are in need of, some of them, the trouble is when they get so bad, going in and doing a straight overlay on these things is wasting money. So then you've got to grind them up, that costs almost double by the time you're done. I've got one development in mind to do this year, plus reline some other culverts. If that Duck Brook thing goes in excess of 450, they don't get done.
So I know we talked a little bit about this. I don't know if you were there when we talked about it at the selectmen's meeting or not, but, you know, I'd like to see, you know, for the next 3, 4, maybe 5 years, what the plan is for your road stuff, because, you know, if there's an opportunity for us to throw in some extra money, you know, it'd be nice to know, it'd be nice to try to think ahead and know and be able to, I mean, we're gonna have to bite the bullet at some point in time here, you know, and I'd like to know that, and then we get, as a board, we can make a decision whether we wanna add more money into that account or not, you know.
If fuel stays anyways near where it is, because fuel costs directly affect asphalt.
Yeah.
If they stay favorable, we're not gonna catch up, but we can probably maintain what we have.
That was kind of the point I was getting at, where I mean, you can see history. The beauty of the spreadsheet is you can look back 5 years and say, well, we've gone up incrementally every single year, except this year, now we're going down 5,000. So my thought process was, well, I mean, if there was something really at an emergent state in your eyes, as far as a development or a road, or and fuel prices being as low as they are, and we're going down on the public works number, I mean, to me, this year would be the year, if we're gonna bump a number.
That's,
Pavement prices are still in the $69 to $70 a ton range.
Yeah.
And if you wait until you have to go patch these things, patch, dump in your truck, we buy it at Pike, it's about $125 a ton. I usually figure it costs triple that by the time it's in the ground, and that's a Band-Aid.
Right.
So we spend, or actually buy, less than 5 tons of patch per year. So we haven't got to critical. Yeah, we're in pretty good shape.
All right, answers my question.
but I think we'd still like, from my perspective, I'd still like to see, you know, some plans for the next maybe 3, 4, 5 years, you know, what are your thoughts? I know you've got it all up there,
No,
You know.
actually got it on the computer.
and,
I can't put much up there, you know.
because, you know, I think for both of these boards, it'd be nice to see, and again, you know, to Jason's point, and I've said this also, if there's an opportunity to be able to throw some extra money, we wanna see it, we wanna be able to do that, and I don't know if we can or not, but I think it should be transparent for us to see that and know, and you know, move forward. Certainly can't guarantee that, but to Jason's point, it would suck to use all of that 450 on ductwork and not do anything else, but if we can throw a little bit, if the budget warrants it, then so be it.
I think it'd also be good if any time someone comes up to either one of the boards and is asking, well, what about the roads, you know?
Yeah.
If we had something that we kind of fall back on, it's like, okay, well, you know, Roger's plan is this. I'm sure a lot of people aren't gonna stop in to your shop and ask you what your plans are. So, they're more apt to come to, well, more selectmen, no one knows the budget boards.
Yeah, I think you do a great job, I'm just trying to see if there's a way we can help you out some more.
Yeah,
Well, again, our developments, we've got, I believe, 15. That, and nowhere's near where I'd like to see it. But,
Well, can you come up with you're saying a 5-year plan, or maybe we need to look at it, maybe we knock 1 or 2 off this year, with whatever we can, if there's, like you said, if there's extra money, then maybe we
I
put
think
that
that
money in and
Brook
knock one
project
off.
this year, we have kind of seen this thing coming for quite a while and knew it needed to be done. This just seems to be the year to get it done. Again, we're virtually gonna do hardly any paving this year because of that.
So that's where like the 5-year plan kind of helps us out, because if we look ahead and say, geez, you know, in 4 years or in 3 years, you got 4 developments that you want to do, you know, maybe we try to start getting ahead of the schedule so that 1 year.
that way it's not a huge spike from
Yeah.
1 year.
I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I think it's good for us to look at it.
Maybe an assessment as to what you think, and a priority list, and then we look at it and
I
say,
can tell you
okay,
that
maybe we should do 2, you know,
this program that we have, basically, the mentality is to keep the good roads good and slowly improve the other ones. We've done that, but it does a pavement assessment condition, and the best roads we had in this overall, over the course of time, was 7 years ago, and we've been sliding back down over the slope because we budgeted $300,000 for 15 years in a row. Pavement prices tripled in those 15 years.
Would it make any sense, Roger, or let me ask you, what would the ramifications be if something like this duct project were put off and do some more paving this year while the oil prices are rock bottom?
No, again, I don't see the pavement prices going down. We paid $69 and something last year. So, really, the way the stars line up, this is the time to do that,
To do what?
to do this Duckbrook project. It only makes sense to do this now.
It's a red listed bridge too. It's the only one we presently have in the municipality that's municipally owned that's on the red list at this point.
We get a bridge report on the structures, and that one, we've had a bad bridge report on for 10 years, even though it's a culvert. And we tried through the DOT to, even though they give us a bridge report, they don't recognize it as a bridge, because if it was a bridge, then there'd be money for that. So somehow that, and Wayne was checking on this for us, but It's convenient how those things happen. Any culvert over 10-foot size is classified as a bridge.
Roger, should we be thinking about, I mean, we backed off, we were at 500,000 3 years ago or so, right? We backed off 50 last year, and we're at the same 450 this year. I mean, and if Duck Brook's gonna eat all, I mean, that's usually dedicated to paving roads, right?
Yep.
So is it something we should think about throwing, does $50,000 going back up to 500 grand, does that make a difference to you? Or is that just chunky?
Absolutely, because we won't know and have firm figures until we've actually gone to bid on this thing. So
Mhm.
it would be nice to have that cushion,
Yeah.
because if that project eats this whole full
That's
picture,
what I mean, yeah.
there's one development that we were looking at this year, it's not gonna get to.
Right.
Everything else stops.
I mean, even with a 5-year plan, I mean, we got, this year's a wash, it's going,
Right.
I mean,
We're
you're
not
not
even,
gonna
we're
do
not
anything.
even thinking, we're not even thinking about this year, we're
Right.
already looking at next year. Right. We should at least have something for this year,
Right.
maybe not one of them for this year.
I mean, if the budget can handle it, I mean, I think we ought to consider going back to,
Absolutely.
500?
you know, that's just my view.
It would be a help.
How much would it cost us to float $1 million bond and do a bunch of stuff to catch up from the last 15 years?
Oh,
I don't know what the interest rates out there. Especially at municipal interest rates. It could be as low as
Could be free money.
almost. I mean, not,
Cost you about
%.
$2.30 on your tax rate to float $1 million bond. If you're gonna all do it at once, now if we figure it out over 10 years, so I'd have to do that, but I should take that back. It'd be a 1 year, one
Right.
shot at $1 million. But if we float it over a 10-year period, I'd have to do the numbers for you. I don't have
We'd
that.
have to be careful how long we float it, because while we're paying that back,
We get more.
we won't have money to put in to keep going.
Correct.
So we don't, if we did that, we wouldn't want to go too many
Right.
years. And then-
So what's the turnaround, about 7 to 10 years that we wanna get to these?
the main roads are averaging 8 to 10 years before you have to revisit them. Secondary roads, as much as 12. Again, developments, we get some that haven't been touched in 15 years.
you said development, use small subdivisions or
What's that number on the
subdivisions?
bond? It's a great resource, a municipal bond bank that has that information. You just plug in the number, you tell them how many years you want it. They'll give you an average on the interest, and they'll give you how much it is per year. So at least gives us, for discussion purposes, if that's something you wanna look at.
We also find in the small amount of snow removal we do, on a nice smooth surface, you can cut your ice control product by almost half. Versus on a rough surface, it takes twice as much to get rid of the ice.
It saves the edges too.
Yeah.
What if we were to bond this Duck Brook project?
Yeah,
We have to go on.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we
I
just,
think that's gonna save us a little bit on this.
yeah.
Because the DEP hasn't kicked in on the second round of grants
Mhm.
that's coming up. Originally, they said you could use this money up to a maximum, I think, was $90,000 available on any one grant, depending on the project. But they haven't sent them back out yet. They're expecting to, but some of this can be used for construction. Originally, they said it could be used for design.
Yeah, so we can-
So if you bump that up to 500, we got another development done this year, a few culverts relined, and that done, saving the budget, we wouldn't be in bad shape.
Now, is the Duck Brook something that you would send a bid and hire it out? You wouldn't handle the Duck Brook,
That's,
too much?
you're talking about a concrete box, you're talking about good-sized excavators, crane to set it, all that, it would be a contract.
Yeah.
So then, Roger, though, but the idea of floating a bond for that would make more sense, because then the 450 that you propose would go towards, then you could concentrate your efforts on the developments that need attention to, that 450, you know, the other part, which is not even, you're not even contracted to do, would bond it out, and then we as a town would accept that over a course of time, you know what I mean? Pay it out over a course of time. That would make more sense to me, rather than add 50,000, I'd rather pay 50,000 towards a bond on it over 9 years or 10 years or whatever it is, and get it done. That makes a heck of a lot of sense, and then have you guys utilize their time to take care of what we need. I don't know, that would be my thought.
That sounds like it makes a heck of a lot more sense than bonding paving projects, which are coming up over the next.
This is a single
5
time,
years.
one project where you can put a finger on it and say, okay, but we can't, you know, why take the hit all in 1 year? We're gonna use that money all in 1 year and take a hit on something that we could bond out, and, you know, maybe it's, I'd rather do that than add 50,000. That would make more sense to me.
Be interested to look at the numbers.
I'll look at the numbers. I'll pull the numbers on both scenarios, so you have it all, so you can look at it all. Yeah, if we bonded it, then Roger could utilize that funding for road work.
And that puts the money back in his control, and then he can take care of the things that need to be
Correct.
done. So you document,
That's
that,
a term of, they let us do whatever.
Oh, no, I mean, usually it's 10 years.
Yes.
Maybe
10
15
years.
on occasion, but,
I think we do a 10-year bond on that bridge, and that 450, we're probably into that, maybe a little less than 50,000 a year that you'd be paying off for 10 years.
Yeah.
I have to do the numbers.
so then that way there where we hold the 450 holds true for, you know, in theory, it's 500 for the next 10 years, but still, that's what it is. And you've got the 450 to deal with and your immediate needs now, which,
As long as that project moves forward this year, because it really is. the town.
but that's another reason. So we're sitting there holding on to that money, and you're not thinking about taking care of the things that we need to do, because you don't know if that's gonna go forward. Bond it out, and then if it doesn't happen, then we get the money sitting there waiting to be used or whatever, and then we use it. I think that single project makes more sense
do
bonding than.
you have a problem with that, or?
No, I just think we've got some other bonds coming up that's gonna eat up the budget, and I know this is gonna end up. Sorry to be a pessimist.
Well, then what do you mean? Get specific, so we have an idea.
I think Roger's talking more about our obligations to the RSU and.
Well, it comes back to the buildings anyway.
That's done.
Right, that's been, you know, we gotta pay it.
Yeah, we're
We're gonna
in
be
that,
obligated.
that's in this budget already.
If we bonded 450 and we had it sitting there and the project came out at 400, can that 50 sit there and then be used next year as the payment, as the first payment?
I think you
We're not
could use, if the project came in less than what you had, yes, I think you could use some of your bond money to pay, to make your payments.
Make your payments, because it wouldn't lapse to the general fund because it's, no, okay.
No.
But I assume you would have the option if you put in for a bond for 450 and the project comes in at 400. Don't you have the option to just bond 400?
Those are the questions I would ask bond counsel, to make sure that I get it accurate, get the right information.
Yeah, that's real tricky business.
Yeah, we'd have to hire bond
Yeah,
counsel
you have,
anyway.
it's a real special.
The only, to touch on Roger's pessimism, I mean, it just seems foolish. I mean, essentially, if we drag that bridge project out, let's say to a 10-year bond, I mean, we'd end up paying
I think
$650,000 for a $400,000 project.
No, not current interest rates.
No?
No.
But I guess what the rates are, but municipal bond rates are,
Yeah, I think the ones I quoted were less than 3.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They're that low?
Yep.
maybe closer to 2. I mean,
Yeah.
what did the RSU just get?
2.7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't go through the bond bank.
Right.
No.
550,000 on
Well, that's where bond counsel can advise us too, we can look at different options in terms of who has the bond. Procedurally, it still has to, it would have to be a warrant article, it has to be voted by the people at the town meeting. So I need to get working on it and get it back in front of you to see if it makes sense. If it does, then I'll have some information for you tomorrow, I'll email it all to you all. So at least you have preliminary stuff. So when we meet again, we'll talk about it.
I think it'd be a better sell for the town meeting too. I mean, we've gotta do this, we've got no choice. Rather than take our dollars that we usually dedicate to road maintenance over the years, I mean, we've got a one-time hit, it's kind of the way bonds work.
That's gonna, the first option is gonna be a harder sell at town meeting.
I think so,
People are gonna
too.
say, we're wasting all the money, and my neighborhood needs to be fixed, or my development needs to be fixed, and we're gonna blow it all on one thing. Whereas if you say it that way, then this is the reason why, and this means we'll be able to get to your neighborhood. That's an easier sell.
You be first. I've never bonded any big projects like for road and stuff. It's been a,
Well,
so,
we'll
see
look
how it
into
shakes
it.
out, see how the numbers come.
Okay.
Growing up, right?
Anybody else have any other questions in regards to public works?
Maybe just touch real briefly on the capital equipment. You had mentioned there's no real equipment replacement in sight, but I thought I remember like a front end loader or something maybe?
But again, right now, we're making $50,000 payments.
All that money's going to the excavator.
All
Right,
that's
we've
going
got
to
5
that.
years commitment to that excavator, right? Is it 5 years?
Yeah.
And you had said that front end loader was tired or something, right?
Well, it's getting up there, it's got 6,000 hours on it. It's already 15 years old. It's still in good shape. I mean, if you looked at it, you'd think it was newer than that, because it's been, had some new tires put on it, been painted, it looks and operates good. 15-year-old piece, here in that way. That would be the next major replacement.
Should we bump that up a little bit?
If all the money in the PW capital equipment is going towards that, like $0 carried forward
Yeah.
for any equipment replacement.
That's
So I'm almost wondering if we're gonna bond, and if we're gonna entertain the thought of bonding the paving, carry the 450 forward, and we had actually entertained the thought of bumping the 450 to 500, well, maybe the 50,000 that we were kicking around could go into capital equipment replacement versus paving, if I didn't confuse anybody on that one.
Right now, we have 82, just over 82,000 in there. Now, I want to just read, this is a January, as of February 2nd, so I think it's fairly accurate, but I want to make sure that the payment for the front end, for the excavator is out of there. So there's a little bit of money there, so if you put, you know, you put-
25,000 maybe a year, instead of the full 50?
Yeah, I think Roger's talking about that loader, but the other important thing, he's got one of our, unfortunately, one of our newer trucks that may need to be retired before we even think about it.
No, that's one of the fire.
No, we're not gonna have a building to store
Ray
that in
wants it.
anymore. No.
Randall wants it.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about that, so at least we give them a heads up that we're contemplating it.
Yeah.
No.
Well, if you want to bankrupt somebody, in some countries, you give them a white elephant. They can't get any work out of it, and all you do is maintain it, and that's what we got. This thing is just computer issues, the regen thing, the emissions. The original gear that was put on it probably was a little heavier than it should, we've already had the frame welded on it. This
Full
is
up.
something that's put on by a reputable company. Just the design of the frame on these things. I looked at other stuff, there's no great alternatives out there. surplus doesn't seem to have anything in that mid-size. It's either huge or one-ton size, like we've got a small fleet of those old pickups and one-tons converted. It's a mid-sized truck, and there's not a lot of options out there. You guys went through that with an ambulance, I mean,
Oh, yeah,
what's out there?
right.
You open up the hood on these things, having a mechanical background, I've done a lot of work on these things over the course of years. You open the hood and you want to close it as fast as you can. It's that bad. Just don't like it. This particular vehicle and that series, if they go through, you guys got something, used to be a simple deal. On this particular one, and you'll see that if you ever have a problem with it, you have to take the cab off the chassis to do this job. That's just crazy. And guess who pays for that? You take it there, because it's probably out of warranty at that point. And this is coming from guys that run before that work on it. And the mechanic there told me, when this is an issue, he says, you gotta cut those cab bolts off, because at 100,000 miles, they don't come out that good anymore. And all the time they're doing it, you're paying the hourly rate.
So if we're running into issues with this one, why did we buy the same? It's the same, the ambulance is the same, body and.
Totally
size?
different use, though, so.
Yeah, we don't have salt and stuff in the back of our ambulance. and-
Sailing.
It's blowing out.
It's saline solution, yes, you could
These things
say.
are made to take out and drive. Well, on a snowplow run that's 12 miles long, it's down and back. And they tell you to take it down the turnpike once a week. Well, that's not why we bought this thing. It doesn't run around that. It's a plow truck. So the use of it is,
So the use of the issues that we're having with this one, you're saying that we won't have those issues with the ambulance?
I don't think they should. It's a different use altogether.
You take it?
Take it all you want. Personally, I'd never buy another one of those, but
My only fear, though, is, so we have 82,000 in the capital reserve. Well, 5 years from now, when we have this conversation, we're gonna have 82,000 in the capital reserve.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we should put more in it, whether it's 10,000 or, but I think we should actually put a little bit more into that, just at least to make it grow somewhat. But again, we need to.
I'm hearing you, and I'm not objectionable to putting money into accounts, but the rubber's gonna hit the road with you folks when you start looking at our projections for tax rate. And so you may have to, I'll do the numbers and I'll put them in and I'll give you analysis on it, but at the end of the day, you may have to look at that again.
Yeah, I think it's due diligence, you know,
Okay.
and we'll make the call at that point, whether we wanna move forward with that or not, but.
as far as the road project thing, I can come up with an alternative plan, funding that as a bond, and then what we could do on top of that.
Okay,
What
well,
roads they'd be and what the dollars would be.
okay. I'll work on the bond thing as soon as possible, so we get that going.
Along
If
those
there's
same
any-
lines, because of what we've done over the course of time, the maintenance that we did this past summer on several roads, drainage work, minor culverts, stuff like that, is probably not gonna be paid for another 2 to 3 years. That's maintenance that we're doing right now, that general maintenance that you do prior to payment, we're at least a couple of years ahead of time. So we could dump some roads in there, and they'd be ready to go. If anybody was worried about, hey, we're gonna do this 500,000 on pavement this year, and you don't have any roads ready. There's roads ready, that could be done.
I feel a lot more comfortable talking about increases in capital reserve budgets if we had some kind of wild guess as to what the income side of this budget was gonna be. Is there any way we could get some figures at the next meeting as to what our anticipated revenues are gonna be, even if it's not right down to the penny?
They're in your sheet now.
They are on the sheet.
They're in
Oh,
there
okay,
now.
I can see
I
it.
forget it, I'm almost at 1.5. I still got the homestead reimbursement to put there, which is still, and that's basically what you've been running. I didn't realize that you were taking, it's in the back of your sheet there. That's the last page of it right there, so it gets you right to the bottom number. The thing I didn't realize is that you were taking fund balance last year you took, 300,000 of fund balance and put it towards your revenue piece, so,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I don't know what, we'll have to look at that, we'll have to look at that again and see what kind of money, if any, you wanna propose to do that with. But that was my first stab at it, John.
Yeah.
Putting those numbers together based on the, what we collected and what we had already brought in this year so far.
Anybody else have any questions in regards to public works?
What about the Eastern Trail?
That's what I was gonna get to next. Eastern Trail maintenance, Roger. Questions, comments, anecdotes?
I think if, when you look at your budget where we put these, do 1403, your miscellaneous account. There are two Eastern Trail maintenance. I think I have 3,000 in there right now, and then your Eastern Trail dues are 5. There's a total of 8. But, I don't know if you have that number, Rod.
Yeah, somewhere in there, I do, I had. I mean, there's no major surprises. We've got one section there that every year, if you have a big rain, because the drainage is poor on it, when it was built, we go in, we came to the board once before, and we've used some money that was allocated for parks. And use that for some repairs. The problem being at this point, it's, if anybody's familiar with the trail, it's from Hidden Meadows back towards Bedford, it's mile 24 and a half, I believe, on the trail. Is the lowest portion of the area is a walking surface. The sides of it are 10 inches higher than the walking surface. That's basic road stuff, folks. Drainage, drainage, drainage. Without it, you don't have a road. And every year, if you have a storm come up and you got a lot of rain, it washes. We get in there, dry it all back, grade it, add some material that should have been built up to start with. I came up with some numbers, like 60 grand to fix that, because we can't cut the sides, because there's a gas line there. They won't allow you to cut. You had that same issue where the shoulders are high out on a road project, you go out with the grader, cut the shoulders down the way it should be, so the water can get off the road. You can't do that there. That's why that particular section is, you know, prone to washes. It needs to be elevated about a foot, effectively.
Just wondering if that's something that should be taken to, or if it has been approached to the
We've had that.
Eastern Trail Association.
We had a joint meeting with them last spring, talked about it. There's no need for that. We talked before, and we beat this thing to death about you paying dues for something that gives you a person or someone at the table on the Eastern Trail. It hasn't done us a damn bit of good so far. But we continue to be a member and pay $5,000 a year, you're paying more to be a member than you are for maintenance. People, I mean, there's a lot of fence on it. Eventually, we counted, how many sections? It was an unbelievable number, but we went and we counted each section, each 10-foot section. It was like 700 and some odd sections. When this goes, it's gonna be expensive to pay. That's what you're looking at. Not in the immediate future, but somewhere in the 10-year time, if it goes that long. There are no major faults other than that. But when it happens, it was all put into the same time, it's gonna go bad at the same time.
Didn't we last year look into the 5,000 membership fee? Didn't we look into what that is actually for?
I think every year we kind of ask about what that goes for, and I believe it's, so we have some kind of a legal footing, so we, you know, something should happen, we're with the
So insurance.
Eastern Trail Association, right?
more or less kind of an insurance type policy, but again, we really
The
didn't.
town is covered by,
I was gonna say,
Policy,
what
yeah.
if you didn't pay the
if
5,000?
we are not a member of the trail, do you think they're gonna close that?
Yeah, they're
It's
not
gonna
gonna,
be-
not gonna divert that section of the
But
trail.
again, that's something that's gotta come from here.
But obviously, that doesn't fix the problem that you have with that washout.
There's a lot of tree work to do on that. Usually,
So,
it's an off-season type of thing when we get in there, if there's any amount of snow like last winter, we couldn't do any tree work in there. There's a lot of dead standing trees that should have been taken down. It's only gonna get worse.
so in the last year we took some money out of the municipal park reserve, because we had made a determination that, you know, it's really our only park, in the town. And, you know, I would tend to think that if there's any major work, we could do the same thing again, right? I mean, we've got over $80,000 in that fund. Maybe actually 87 or 87.5 in that fund, so, you know, Roger, if there's any major work, maybe we take the money out of that.
Well, you do have a bridge that crosses the road. At some point, there's gonna be some maintenance on that. So that you could use, you know, the money for something like that.
Yeah.
Again, when that fence goes bad, what did you figure, $30 some odd dollars a section?
Yeah, it's, it was between 30, 40.
Per section.
Like 700.
700 and some odd.
Roger, I mentioned before about the whole Arundel Cottages on Route 1. You know, part of their big selling ploy was, well, we bought the Eastern Trail and, you know, we get a walking trail that goes from here to wherever you wanna walk. And I had mentioned to the Board of Selectmen one meeting that, I mean, they got, I don't know, 500,000 yards of gravel sitting there. I know they're gonna use a bunch of it for their infrastructure, but I didn't know if approaching them saying, look, can we, you know, maybe just pay for trucking on that gravel or something?
That's a
and-
selling point for them. And that actually, by the time their outlet is done, that's gonna be real close to Hidden Mountains.
Right.
Right.
There's a
We ought-
small mountain across roads.
Certainly ought to
So
reach
that
out
might
to
help
Joe
their
with that.
advertising it as being close to Eastern Trail, if they can fix that
That's a
trail,
thought.
make it.
I mean, it's probably a drop in the bucket for what they're using there, so we ought to reach out
Even
to Joe.
if we just had to
with
truck
that.
it or tractor it, or,
Yeah.
at least we're not buying the gravel, we're just, it just seems like a massive amount of gravel. I don't know if they'd use all that or not, I don't know,
I get an idea when they expand their road systems, they'll be using a lot of that,
Yeah.
but still.
food for thought, you know, like, talk to Joe maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you must have some idea of how many yards it would take to fill
Yeah,
that.
and I don't have the numbers with me, I know it was
Right, but-
like 60 grand.
Yeah, because that would be a good number, you know, to give to Keith, and Keith could approach Joe and say, hey, listen, we have this issue with the Eastern Trail, would you be willing to, I mean, you never know. I mean, they've been pretty good with some stuff already, so.
Tell them that it's not a monetary donation, but it'd be a material donation.
Right.
But, knowing how some of the trails are, they're very particular in regards to what that trail is, they use up for material on that, aren't they? You gotta
Well,
use stone dust.
The top of it is the actual walking surface, the stone dust.
So if you've gotta build up the grade
But
5 feet, then.
a lot of that money that I figured in that 60 grand was not stone dust, that was just topping. So there was some 4-inch gravel in that, and some 1.5 inches in the top of the stone dust. So, good way to approach it.
I mean, it's definitely on their brochure, so.
So let Keith know how much you need, and then Keith will call Joe, have a conversation.
Doesn't have to ask.
Yeah,
Here's an arm.
We're gonna put a gate there if you know.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody would be happy to do that.
It's a
Yeah.
drop in the bucket, really.
All right. And since you're here, Roger, and you've always been the one that we've asked, the rec buses. You guys do the maintenance on those?
Yeah, we just did a little work to the new bus.
Yeah,
It needed some brake work. Brakes is something that we've always been, it's not something you want a little kids going down the road, questionable brakes.
Right.
So the new bus had brake work basically from one end to the other, including, it's a hydraulic brake system on this bus, as opposed to air brakes. And every line on it, every caliper and every rotor was changed, and it's got new pads on it all the way around. That bus is in pretty good shape, it should give you. Rust is the enemy to these things. It's gonna be, frame's gonna be cleaned up, undercoated, then they're gonna take the bus. So,
Are we still keeping the old bus?
the old bus is already gone.
It's gone, yeah, it's gone.
It's gone.
Sold that for $500
Yeah.
to Champion Parts. Take it all off.
Frame was bad.
Yeah. What holds the body to the frame are the cross members I've noticed, and that's where they are. And when you get to that point, you're throwing good money after bad to replace those, you should take the side panels right off the bus to do it.
Yep.
And that's what kills those things.
Okay, I didn't realize that we'd gotten rid of the first
We
bus.
took the tires that were on it, had real good tires, that one on the new bus. So we got some value out of it besides the money to offset the cost of painting.
I think we paid, what, 14 for the new one?
That sounds good.
You got a good deal on the paint job too, as I recollect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For less than 50 cents on a dollar.
Right.
Phil wanted me to get it for 12, but I couldn't work that deal.
You should have sent Phil.
Yeah. Should have said him.
Who'd have got it?
Should have sent Phil.
And what year is that bus?
Two 2007 or 2008.
I think it's an 8.
The reason I really good today.
Yeah.
Or the other day. but Today especially.
any different,
Yesterday and today kind of ran together.
Kind of barring any accident or anything, how long do you think we should be able to use that bus for?
It should be at least 5 years, maybe 7 again. Rust is the enemy. And we're our own worst enemy because of the stuff we put on the roads. Everybody says, oh, it's that calcium you guys use. Salt is a chloride too. And everywhere you go, except Arundel, it's on a salt priority deal. You're driving through that stuff, it's a brine, guess what that's doing?
That doesn't get used that much during the wintertime, does it?
The bus,
Yeah.
some trips. She had one, she had to get an RSU bus to do last week, because there was, and winter vacation's coming up, so I'm sure there's something planned, and it's probably gonna be an RSU bus instead of that particular one. On the early release days, big trips, so if it's a real bad day, usually they'll cancel the trip, but it still runs through this stuff.
Okay.
And I bumped that capital reserve from 5 to 6250.
Yep.
So we have a little bit more money at the end of the, as Roger and I was thinking the same thing, we were gonna get 5 years or so of service out of it, so we'd be in the $30,000 range. And when we were looking for buses, that seemed to be more of a range that we could really begin to get a good quality used bus with not a lot of, hopefully a lot of repair work to it, so. That was my goal, with the extra $1250 put in there.
Anybody have any other questions for Roger?
Well, you still have the cemetery line plus transfer station, if you want to talk about
Yeah.
this.
Oh,
I wanted to stay on the transfer station.
transfer station. Well,
Just so we can provide some more filling in the blanks than anything else at this point. Transfer is 1701. Right now, we're proposing roughly $7,580 more than the previous year. And most of that, if you look at the budget, you'll see that we're seeing,
canister repair, replacement.
This one is actually a replacement It's the current trash compactor roll-off. It's been repaired once. And it's getting to look like a screen door, so there's not much left to repair. It needs to be replaced.
I was
I got
there
one-
this past Saturday, and they seem to be having some issues with some, one of the canisters.
I haven't heard anything. I won't see him again until tomorrow, so usually that's not hearing any issues. This, if you replace this one this year, the other ones have been replaced or repaired. So we're not in too bad a shape after this particular one, but this one that's in now was pretty bad. I've actually got some numbers come in so far that's actually under the 10 grand proposed for budgets. Almost like $6,200.
So we may be able to,
Different style, different shape, but still the trash.
yeah, we may be able to pare that down, when the final number has to be approved. So if he's at 62, then we'd be dropping that by about $4,000 or so. So, and just a reminder, our transfer station is operated by Pine Tree Waste through a contract. Contract went up about 3% this year. We're about $6,400 a month that we're anticipating that it costs us to take care of our trash. So that, as well as there's a little bit more money in there for the hazardous waste day. We're trying to coordinate that again with Kennebunk and Kennebunk Port. So our folks can go over there for that day. The other thing that we really need to have some attention to is building maintenance. You can see that we didn't spend a lot in the previous years, but I wanted to keep it at $2,000. Right now we have some individual who's doing some maintenance for us, has done some work at the fire station, has done some work at the town hall. I'm gonna send him down to look at the transfer station to see what needs to be done there, but Roger was telling me, I think we've got some trim boards that are rotten and need to be replaced. We've got some painting that need to be done, just to keep the building sort of weather tight and continue to be used. So I can assure you that $2,000 will not be there. It will be spent, because I'll spend it.
So the 84,000, that's, it's 64,000 for the services and then
Right.
an additional 20,000 for,
Right, the rest of the money, well, it'd be 6,400, did I say 6,400? 6,400 times 12. Get you 76,800 for your, and then the remaining balance will be used for the hazardous waste, any other incidentals that we may have that come up.
We had some concerns about the hauling of these things, and we contact the dumpsters twice a week. Monday morning, we go up, take care of it, and then Thursday after, first day we work after they've been open. And a lot of these dumpsters are going out. We used to pay a tipping fee and so much to truck it. And did some investigating on this, and we are getting away with murder up there, because they are doing it for basically a flat fee. And they're not making a lot of money. So, they can haul as much as they want. Trucking is money, but we're not being charged every time one of those things runs. So we used to get them as full as we could, which is probably a sign, unloading them and stuff, but we are doing very well after checking into this to see what the fees we thought were gonna be and what they actually are. They've been to us. They're only here because they're close by, Kennebunk and other places, we're getting the deal. So,
We'll have to keep it that way too.
I'm surprised they have, rates up a little bit. I mean, I think there's plenty of room.
now, again, we
I
don't
think it's-
advertise too much, but we are,
I think it's
Doing
cheap for
well.
what I paid, it would have done my ass.
How long is that contract? We just did that, Jack did it last year,
I
right?
think it's 3
This
years.
is 3 years? Yeah.
the trick is try to negotiate with them at the end of that period so that they can do it locally. a few years back, as you recall, it went to bid.
Right.
Then it goes to corporate office, and it costs us 10 grand more than
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the last time we, was it Stu, what's Stu's last name?
Stu Axelrod.
Yeah, Axelrod. Stu was the one that we negotiated with and kept the price down for us, so it worked out good for us, I think. So, I guess for the transfer station, I think that we'll probably see an adjustment, if I'm speculating adjustment here, it will be down based on the numbers that Roger's getting for the canister repair. The other piece that we're sort of locked into, and I don't show any expenses there yet, but it would be our DEP landfill remediation program that we're into right now. I know that we spent very recently about $5,500 for the reporting, the work out there. The public works crew went out there and assisted the engineering firm in sealing some of the wells that don't need to be monitored anymore. Out of the money that we spend there, right now, it's somewhere between, depending on what program we fall into, between 70 and 90% reimbursement to the town for the landfill work. So I just got notice that we should be getting about a $5,000 check coming back to us from the work that's been done there so far this year. So, and then the other piece in here, and we're still obligated to it, is the monitoring of the local wells that were in the area. I think we have 3 that we continue to monitor, and that we have some water treatment systems that are there at this point. They seem to be in better control now. We had one that was not keeping control of it. Now we've got them back on board. I think we're in good shape, so. I anticipate this number to start ratcheting down after this next year. I don't think there'll be 10,000 there, I think it will be less. I'll have to get a better analysis from the engineers as to where that will go and what obligation we have to those wells, to those private wells. I think that was a question that was asked of me, and I think I have the answer, but I'll look at running the dust off the report again. I think we were got a couple more years, maybe 5 more years, that we have to continue to monitor, and then they're their responsibility, if I recall that correctly. So it's not a lifetime deal. It will sunset, and when it sunsets, it'll be up to them to take care of it.
Now, those wells that we have to monitor, those are the ones up by the transfer station?
Yes. They're on off of Brimstone, and what?
Brimstone. Yeah, there's one straight behind the transfer station. There's still a couple on the roadway on the way up. And there's one actually down on the other side of the gate, near one of our stockpiles.
What about the old place where Henry used to be, where his daughter Lisa was? There's nobody there now. And it isn't for sale.
Not the bank.
Bank
We had heard that, it was last year when we were looking
Yeah,
at the
what-
bank.
What would happen there if somebody bought the property, if that well has been?
I believe we've taken that. I think that's on a lien list and perhaps deeded to us by now. I'll have to double check that. You're talking about the first place on the left.
On the left, yeah, the mobile home that's in there.
Oh, I thought we missed that opportunity, but
Maybe we did. I'll have to double check it though.
I think the bank.
I went in there and looked at
As far
it.
as liens and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't recall. I know we talked about that last year when we were,
Yeah, the buildings are,
we were looking at town hall, we'd walk by and
Yeah.
I mean, is somebody in there, you know, at least once a month mowing the lawn? So,
in the summertime, the only time you see activity.
yeah.
I'll
I
have to
just
double-
wondered if there was a well there, if it was contaminated, if there was ever a question about whether it was from what Henry did there,
Well, we must
or
have
whether it
been-
was from the
That
landfill.
would-
the well must have been monitored at some point,
Yeah,
I'm
being
sure
that
it was.
close, it must have been.
I'd have to look at the, Velma, I'd have to look at the mapping to see if there's even a monitoring well close to that anymore. You've capped some, but I don't know if the
The
closest.
closest one again is on the far side of our building where the bus is stored.
Which
There's a
direction
long
was
tree
the
well
pole?
there, that's the closest one.
Which direction was the plume going, you know?
Supposedly towards the town garage.
Combine that so much. Lovely.
Yeah, that could be, yeah.
Any other questions in regards to the transfer station? All right. So it looks like that would be it.
Yeah, the only other ones I would have would be the 1100 counts. The Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, Board of Appeals, and Professional Services. If you wanna go over them, we can.
Yeah, well,
If you've
just,
had enough time.
yeah, we don't need,
No, which is all set?
The cemeteries was the only other
Oh,
one
yeah.
that we had anything to deal with.
Right. I think I dropped some money out of that too on your project. I think it was 57.75 and I dropped it to 5. You haven't slapped me yet, so I thought it was okay.
That's good. That's,
Which
I mean,
has
we've got a guy that comes in, mows ball fields, cemeteries and stuff, that's really not a big item. It's minor stuff, and it was always kept separate, but I know they were talking about rolling in the public works. That as well as the trail, but
Yeah.
Did the accounts, that we had a couple cemeteries, we had small accounts for, did those get used up and closed out? Or can we, is it only a case that we can only use the interest that they accumulate?
I think that is a done deal, that's been going on a long time. Yeah, we're currently maintaining 50, and there's others in town, but the veterans is what triggers it, there's a veteran's grave. The town's obligated to take care of it. There's a few in town that never got upgraded, or so to speak. There's one down off the river.
Yeah, down the back of the
Veterans.
horse farm?
Yes,
Yeah.
that,
Those
there's
civil-
just nothing left there to maintain.
Civil War veterans supposedly in there. I know that the cemetery up by the Jones Farm, there was a savings book that came, it was an actual savings passbook. And I can't remember how much money there was in it, not much, but supposedly only the interest was to be used to help maintain the cemetery.
and I think
Wow.
the last I heard about that, that was basically like a year or something,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
invest.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
basically, that one's not in bad shape. We haven't had to do a lot other than just keep it mowed and with this painting to the rails and stuff. The ones that we have are in pretty good shape. There's no major expenditures for any of them, really. It's just the maintenance, trying to keep them. We did do some work last year on one of them down Morris Mercy is. Get it overgrown. We went in and Morris, once we took the trees out, Morris is gonna redo it. He's got some fence he wants to put up, so he's doing something there as well. Yeah, replacing signs is one of the other things. It's done, and we need to do a few more, so, but again, it's not big stuff. And the only other thing that comes out of that is when Judy goes around and puts flags and stuff on them. And she still sends me emails about any issues or anything like that on them, so.
Who does the flags?
Judy Belmios,
Oh,
she's been doing that for 25 years. Yeah, mowing supplies and stuff gets charged. Yeah, basically what we've done is, anytime somebody goes and works on one of these, they track it on their time card, and then it gets charged, it comes back to us to cover their time, that's really expensive.
Now, what kind of work do you have to do on some of these cemeteries?
Usually in the spring, there's a cleanup, they get raked out, pick up any sticks, debris, anything like that. Then after that, it's just mowing, but there's usually a lot of leaves, pine needles, stuff like that. Occasional fence repair. Terry brought up something about the way it gets charged back.
I was just thinking because a lot of Boy Scouts, when they have to go and do their Eagle Scout project, a lot of them work on cemeteries because there's a lot of them around.
There's been 2 of them done that way. Sean Newson's son did one on the Downing Road. My son actually did one on the Old Post Road. There aren't any more per se to do as a project like that, to
Yeah.
basically reclaim them, rescue them, whatever you want to call it.
There's nothing left of the stones down there at that one down by the was found, nothing in there at all.
Everything's laying down flat, the
I know,
stones are
but-
broken.
The stones were broken and flat when I found them back
You were a
in,
kid.
when I found them back in the late 70s, early 80s.
You'd be hard pressed to walk in there not knowing where it is. I've been in there before, it's been a long time, but
Yeah.
just to find it.
Yeah.
And that's why nothing
And we
was ever done.
stumbled upon them, I mean,
Yeah.
literally stumbled upon
Yeah.
them.
Henry Tilton was overseeing that with Judy years ago as far as which ones get reclaimed, so to speak. And that one at the time was too far gone to salvage.
So really, the work that they do and the hours that they put in, doesn't all get charged to cemeteries. A lot of it comes out of your own budget.
Thank you. And that's the only problem with the way we're doing it now as far as tracking it, but they're supposed to. Anytime they work on a cemetery, they,
There's a cemetery on 111 that could use some help if the Boy Scouts have to do something.
yeah, that one needs some tree work, I think.
Yeah, that needs a lot of tree work. The fence around it isn't too bad.
Yeah. When the trees start to come down now.
Where's that?
111, almost across
What's
the
that?
Brewster.
Is it down?
Want me to show you how to shut that off, Jason?
Yes.
I shot real quick.
That's the Dow one, right, Phil?
Yeah.
I don't know, is there any sentiment to take that cemetery money and put it into the Public Works Department? Or do you still want to continue to track it separately?
It doesn't sound like we track it as it is
Yeah.
very well
And
either,
it's,
so.
and for the amount that it is, I mean, I just think it should just be in, it's charged to his budget anyway, so. And I mean, like I said, I think we had 2 accounts where we had those accounts. I know I've seen the passbooks, and I think they were set up so that you could use the interest. And, you know, that $1 a year or less, that, and I guess you can never actually close those accounts out because they're set up just for a specific use for that cemetery. Or I guess, maybe it's a case of asking later if we can do that.
So this is the first I've heard, we have separate cemetery accounts that still may be open?
There were, I thought there were 2, there were passbooks. And they were specifically set up where somebody had donated some money to be used for the upkeep of a cemetery.
Basically, they had passed away
Yeah.
and willed money for
The upkeep.
the upkeep of the
cemetery.
cemeteries.
Sort of like perpetual care accounts?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
But I think there was probably all of $500 in it, and at one time, it probably earned enough interest to mow the cemetery once a year, but,
Interest now.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm just wondering if we still have them, if they can't just be closed out.
Generally, when we have those things, they'll be viewed on our audit report. I'll have to look and see if we have any.
Yeah, maybe
I
they,
don't
maybe
recall.
they have been
It may
closed
have
out.
already
but-
been.
yeah, Closed out and used
I'll
out.
check it.
It wasn't much.
Probably because there hasn't been much in it, so why bother taking any out, and because of inactivity?
Well, that's the
But
sad
it
thing.
still should have showed up somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Yeah. If the
Well,
accounts
if
weren't
it's
used,
If it's an account that's being controlled by the town, yes, it should be,
Yeah.
it should be recognized and reported, so we have an accounting of it.
And it may not be an account that's controlled by the town, it may be an account that's controlled by the estate, or whoever passed away or something like that. I don't know.
And if it doesn't get used, like you talked about activity fees, inactivity fees,
It may be, Velma, that the way banks charge inactivity fees these days, whatever small amount of money was in there
gone.
might have already been
Or,
yeah.
chewed up.
or it may
and down.
have, just because there's been no activity, may have gone to, state of Maine, unclaimed property.
Yeah,
I'll look into it, it's on my notes.
So the question is to maybe take the cemeteries account out and roll it into the overall public works?
That was my thought, I mean,
Yeah.
you're only talking,
Right.
and Roger's doing all the work, I mean, you know, right now, he has to have the guys figure out where that money has to go in order to continue to have an accounting and a tracking of it.
That one would probably make sense to do that.
Yeah.
I think the other one, that was talking about doing that with a trail, and there's always gonna be somebody to ask you how much money was actually spent on that trail. The way it is now, you know, if you dump that one in there too, that's probably gonna be a lot of homework for somebody to go back through and check it anyway.
Because the trail's gonna be something that has to be dealt with every year.
That's right.
That's-
Yeah,
that's a-
we need to keep that separate, yeah.
You know, that's gonna be a volatile issue depending upon what kind of dollars are being talked about.
Is there any significant heartburn about doing that, or?
I don't know.
Okay.
As it is, we're probably getting less than half of that anyway, because somebody doesn't put it on their card, or
yeah.
it doesn't get
Right.
picked up.
This way
A few years back, I don't remember who was doing it, but it was previously, so what she was doing, a journal entry at the end of the year, as opposed to $50 here and $100 there.
Yeah, one journal entry at the end.
Yeah,
Put it all in public works.
Leaving covers.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything else for Roger? Hearing no one say anything. Thank you much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Roger.
Thanks, guys.
So at some point, we'll be back with a revised road projects.
Right, I'll update the numbers in the budget tonight and move that cemetery money over. I'll start working on the bond piece to see what kind of money we're looking at for that bridge.
The 5-year plan that you're looking for, in theory, is a good idea, but depending on what fuel prices are, I mean, you're virtually picking numbers out of the air. I can tell you what needs to be done and when it needs, you know, what it needs, but to put a dollar figure to that sometimes is tough, just because
But,
pavement prices
and
are all
I think
over.
we understand that, but I think it's just, it gives us an idea of what's coming up, and whether it's a small project, a medium project, or a large project, so, you know, I mean, I know that if
Some of
you
these
say.
overlays on a road that's a mile long, you're over $100,000.
Yeah, so, I mean,
But if we have a list, if we start listing them, and then give you, you know, some sort of data there, that will help a lot.
Yeah, I think even if it's just based on current prices, I mean, we can always adjust for whatever the price increases are, but at least we got something to go on. I don't think anybody's expecting you to look 5 years down the road and have it within $2.50.
Oh, that's the trouble with fuel prices. One little bad day in the Middle East and your
Oh, yeah.
prices, you
Yeah,
know.
I think that's understood.
Thank you, gentlemen,
Thank you,
now go
guys.
home and get some sleep.
Yeah.
See you later.
I told you you could sleep a lot.
big storm coming in tomorrow, so
Yeah.
we'll get some rest.
Is that what they're saying?
No,
Flurries.
He just loves it, huh?
yeah. Weekend, it'll wait until the weekend.
Up north, move it up north.
Dusting for 2 tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Don't worry about that.
No, but that's where we use sand and salt.
Thanks, guys.
It's not as bad as last year. Last year, a couple of times, we saw a 10-day forecast. Absolutely nothing in the forecast. And we went about snow 3 times. And then,
Good night, folks.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you.
on to account 1101, Board of Selectmen.
Yes, I generally put these, put all these numbers together at this point. And generally what you see here is just a reduction of about $750, so it's really staying fairly even funded. Indicates how much is paid out to the selectmen on a yearly basis. And then the rest of it covers any travel or conferences that they may want to go to, which I reduced that a little bit based on their activity in the past. And then the miscellaneous account is, I dropped that at $500 from last year, 2,000. Generally, that's used just as a catch-all, but in the last several times we've used them for flowers and memorials, things like that for citizens who have provided service to the town in the past, or people that Arundel know of from the past, so we left it in there like that, so.
Anybody have any questions in regards to 1101?
Nope. I'd like to double the wages for the year.
Yeah, we gave the planning board a raise a few years ago.
That would lead me into the budget board needs to get paid. All right, let's move to 1102 planning board.
Right, the planning board, what I did was, I talked to planner, is just indicated that our generally is about 36 meetings a year. Provided out what the cost would be for that, what the advertising generally for advertising printing for those 36 meetings is then whatever memberships and dues are owed as a result of that. So that's up slightly from the previous year, and I think it's mostly the advertising and printing. 36 million at $70 a meeting sort of equates out to what I have there, so there's a slight bump there, which pretty much picks up the whole increase that's being requested of $1,277 in that budget.
They do an awful lot of advertising and printing. I mean, they have to send out notices all the time.
Absolutely required for what they do.
Yeah.
We're recovering a lot of that from the
From
applicants.
the fees from the applications.
Correct, what's that?
We recover that from the applicants.
Right,
Yeah.
there's, I think they,
About,
yeah, in
$4 grand.
anticipated revenue, there's some money that comes back in,
Right.
so yeah, we do recover it.
Can you just put a note, and get us a note somewhere on here about what the anticipated revenue?
It's on the last sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be on the last.
Service charges, $4,000.
Oh, wow. They're making money for us, they've gotta work harder here.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah. Don't let them hear this, don't tell them I said that.
Yeah, if you want me to note it on the sheet, when we come to those places where there is, I don't know how detailed you want that to be, I can provide it if you want.
Approximate, approximate.
Yeah,
We have an idea.
what we're anticipating for an offset for revenues there. Because generally, all those revenues get into one budget, and then there's one warrant article at town meeting to approve that, so we can offset the taxation as a result of that, so.
At least when you see that, yes, the difference is $1,277, but they bring in approximately 4,000.
Now, 1103, the appeals board, I sort of reduced it a little bit, and then I've just sort of left it alone. The appeals board generally doesn't meet a lot, even though, unfortunately, this last year, they had quite a few meetings as a result of some of the issues that have been appealed as a result of actions by the CEO. So I've left it around that $600 mark, even though right now we're at $13.98 in terms of expenses. Some of that will come back to us when we begin to bill for the advertising and printing. Because by policy, we collect 250, anything above 250 gets billed. I know the bills are going out to the school as well as to one business in town that still owes us some money, so there'll be an offset there.
Yeah, you wanna get off the history of what we had for an amount for 2014, 2015, so that's not a good omen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody got any questions in regards to Board of Appeals? Hearing none. 11.4, professional services.
Yeah, this one is, I bumped this, a little bit more than your initial, my initial analysis of it, by 12,558. Right now, it's tentative, but it's in the engineering piece. I went from 3,000 to 18,000. And the reason being is that, our RFP is close to going out for the sewer work, the RFP for the sewer. So I put another 15,000 in there to cover the initial part of the analysis of getting that sewer work done. I won't know until the RFP comes back as to whether or not the 15,000 is a good number to have there at this point. The caveat that we'll have there is that once the captured values for the cottages begins to show up on our values, then that money can then be theoretically used to pay that engineering cost. But this first time, it may be that we're gonna have to pony up some money initially until we get that flow of money coming in from the TIF. So that's why I've bumped that to the point that I have.
And that, does that include, that's a line item that includes our lawyer fees for?
Well, you have a legal piece there too.
Yeah.
And I left the legal at 40 at this point.
All right, that's what I was looking.
Yeah, you had, I think you had 20 and 15, you spent 32.
Yeah.
You bumped it to 40, we're at 28.8 right now. So I left it at 40.
Probably gonna need it till you get done with it.
Well, that's why-
I'm hoping that's gonna,
That's why it was bumped up to begin with.
right. I'm hoping that's gonna be enough that we're gonna be able to begin to resolve some of those outstanding issues. We'll have, I think at your next, for the selection, the next business meeting, Leo will be in to discuss some issues related to that. So,
From a selectman standpoint, should we include any funds for town hall surveying, town hall engineering, future potential land parcels?
I don't think so. You have the capital reserve
Right.
fund for the town hall?
Which we can pull from that?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So there's money there to do those initial things, and as you had instructed me to do at your last couple meetings ago, to get some of those numbers, I'll use the money from there to pay that.
Has there been any progress in regards to finding a spot for a new town hall?
Yeah, I mean, we've narrowed the search down, I would say, to 3 potentials, you know? We're just kind of doing our homework. Does the building fit? Does the budget fit?
Anything else on 11.4 professional services? Hearing none.
That's really all I had for tonight. To go through. About an hour and a half, that's not bad.
Very good.
Okay, so,
So for us, it'd be the next meeting, when you wanna meet again.
About 2 weeks from by.
because the selectmen will be meeting on the 22nd,
Yes.
And do you like doing the
Works for me.
Tuesday after?
I'm all set with it.
So you wanna do the 23rd?
I think that's kind of what we had tentatively planned also.
Yeah, I thought it was a good strategy. I think it works.
All right,
What I'll do is I'll bring, let's get fire in. Get them right off. How about, we'll do the, whatever we have left in the 1401s accounts, the civil services, the miscellaneous accounts. We can begin to review that. And how about general assistance? You wanna get general assistance too?
Yeah.
I don't think you'll have a lot with general assistance.
usually do.
That will, with the exception of recreation, that will pretty much give you a first blush of the budget. I don't know what you wanna do with the social service agency. Did you have them come in, or did you just provide their reporting? Because that's what I've done in the past.
Usually it's, they'll send stuff in on what they are requesting.
Yep,
And
it's in
usually,
it's in that budget.
yeah.
At one time, they used to come in, didn't they?
Yeah, but it,
There was one year that a couple of the services came in, but since then, it's basically, they'll just send a letter and what they're requesting.
I think we let Wendy kind of call out
yeah,
Yeah,
the agencies who are most
Yeah.
effective
Yeah.
in town and recommend, make
and
recommendations.
then there's Kennebunk Free Library that just
Yeah.
shows up at the town meeting.
I saw
Shoots
that
himself in
item
the foot.
separately here somewhere.
yeah.
Well, what I'll do is, the 1403 under miscellaneous will give you all the social service agencies that I presently have and the total amounts that they've requested. So, I think you put aside 5,800, right now the requests that I have are 9357. So some of them are new, I don't know what your policy will be when you start looking at those, but I'll have Wendy go through that and do a culling.
Yeah, she'll decide who
Okay.
gives us the best bang for our buck.
Yeah.
And then the Kennebunk Free Library, I know it's always seems to be a controversial issue. I don't know if you want them to come in. Their request is up from 12 to 14 now this year. So,
Personally,
Same request last year.
We'll talk about that.
What was it, 14 or was it 15 that they asked for last year?
It was over 12, and that's all we put in.
I think they asked for
That's
15 and we
actually-
gave
Gave
them
them
12.
12.
I think it was 10.
And they weren't happy.
Yeah.
so I'm not quite sure what you want to do there. You still got time to think about it.
I know what I want.
Yeah,
I'd let
Discuss that
Wendy
next
yeah.
All right, very good.
Okay, that was everything on the agenda. I'm more than happy to entertain a motion.
I'll move to adjourn.
We have a motion made to adjourn and a second on that. All those,
Oh, you got it. Sorry.
all those in favor? All those opposed can stay here. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And as always, if you have any questions, you can either call me or email me if there are things that we need to get answered tonight. I'll get answers and send them to you all as well.
Again, signatures.
What's your email address?
Can I get the cameras on?
Yeah.
Just gonna work for everybody.